This has been the Atari 8-bit podcast.
We just had to really learn fast. I mean, really learn fast.
This is Antic, the Atari 8-bit podcast. I'm Kevin Savitz. Hanan Samara was a programmer at Thorn EMI, where her work included programming the game Jumbo Jet Pilot. Later, she founded Dalali Software, a company that specialized in converting games to various computer platforms. There, she created the Atari computer game Jinn Genie. This interview took place on November 13, 2017. Her husband, Chris James, can be heard in the background from time to time and is the subject of my next interview.
I set up Dalali Software Limited in 1984. Mm-hmm. It's because my mum said go for it, and my dad said, no, go work for IBM. And I had basically job offers for various different companies, and I really wanted to do my own thing. So anyway, the stupid fool went and set up a company. Didn't realize that when you work for when you're employed by a company, you only have really one boss. But when you work for yourself, all your clients are all your bosses.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, indeed.
Anyway.
So it's 1984. You started this company. So tell me. Let's go back. I want how you got into computers. Kind of set me up with the prehistory.
Studied in the States. I got my master's degree in operations research in the States, and because my dad was in a not such a good state, I decided I really wanted to stay, but I couldn't. So I came back home, and my uncle had a company called International Computer Systems. He dealt with his job was to take big machines and make them bilingual. So I said yes. I'll happily come and join you, and I learned Z80 assembler in order to make big machines, big deck machines, operate in both English and in Arabic. And then I stayed with him for a couple of years, and I couldn't really go and see the clients. Most of his clients were Saudi-based, so at that time you couldn't really go by yourself. You have to. The rules and regulations in Saudi were too swift, and they weren't flexible enough for me to do what I really want to do, and so I got a bit bored and started applying for other jobs, and one of them was with Thorn EMI, and it had this jigsaw puzzle with a Humpty Dumpty in it, and it was all falling apart, and I had to find out how that was done. And so that's how it all started. Stupid.
No.
It was amazing. It was just like how does this sprite work? What is a sprite? You know? and that's how it started. And I think at the time I was the first woman assembler programmer in the UK, but not really. And then I joined Thorn EMI, and I had to learn 6502. And for me, it was a sort of a downgrade. When you use Z80, you come down to 6502. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's fun, and it was exciting, and we started basically programming all sorts of games, and we had all sorts of different nice clients like Activision and so on and so on, and we spent ages coming up. That was really fun time, when you were allowed to take time to experiment, which was amazing. Really, really fantastic times.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So what they put you to work? What they put you to work doing when you got to Thorn EMI?
Well, mostly concoct your own programs and design your own programs, and you were given something as daft as 6 months.
Wow.
To come up and experiment, and that was unheard of.
Wow.
Yeah, 6 months is huge. And gradually, they upgraded me, and I became the project leader at Thorn EMI.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started getting serious, and everything we did had to be scrutinized. Let's put it that way. And things got a bit serious. So I then thought to myself, I really would like to do my own thing instead of following exact instructions. And that's when I left and started Dalali. And the reason it's called Dalali is because it's my mother's maiden name.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
That's very good.
and it's because she said go for it, and my dad said go work for serious company.
Right. The two programs that I see you credited with specifically, I'm going to list. But then if there's others, I'd certainly like to hear about them. But the two that I'm aware of are Jumbo Jet Pilot, which was published by Thorn EMI, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Jinn Genie.
Yeah. Oh no.
Which was published by Dalali.
Right. So we did have some contracts with Activision to convert. At the time, the in thing was to convert games into various different formats. So we did do quite a lot of that when we first started Dalali.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even remember how many there were, but there was we had a really nice team, and it was just inherited because of the contacts that I had at Thorn EMI. And the reputation we had, we just moved on and to do the same thing. And then we decided that we didn't have the clout that Thorn EMI had. I mean, when we were at Thorn EMI, you had one person who did nothing but the music. You had another person who did nothing but the graphics. You had another person who did animation, strategy, etc., design, and it was getting to become way too expensive. And so we thought perhaps we need to look into some other ways of earning a living. That's what it comes down to, really. Sure. And so we started doing information systems for exhibitions, and hence touchscreen technology, how that came on board. So we provided exhibition organizers with information points using touch technology so that people can come and touch and find out who does what and how to find them and how to get to the stand, etc.
I see.
And then from there on, it moved on, and we started doing registration services, and then, of course, the internet came on board, so we started doing websites, back office systems, databases that you basically, out of one database, you could produce a back office system so that the organizer can generate invoices and assign stands to their exhibitors, and the same database you can use to produce the website, and the same database you can assign and produce the online exhibitor manual, and so on and so on.
And this all bloomed from the company that you started in 1984.
Yeah.
Nice. So do you remember what titles you converted for Activision?
I can't remember really,
Sure.
but I know a man who might. My, that's the exciting thing about all this. My boss, when I first joined Thorn EMI, his name is Chris James.
Okay.
He was my boss.
Uh-huh.
And he stayed there for, while I was there, he was the project manager. He left about a year after I joined and set up his own company. And I left about a year and a half later. He was responsible for the Humpty Dumpty jigsaw puzzle.
Nice.
And
I bet he's proud.
We stayed friends for quite a long time. And then about 10 years, 20 years later, maybe 17 years later, we met up again. And he's my husband.
I see. I see how it is. Excellent.
And he's right by my side, and he might remember. I don't think he will. Do you remember what titles we converted when we were at Dalali? Yeah.
Obviously, Fractalus.
Oh, Fractalus, of course.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
Sure. Now, that was originally on the Atari, so you're probably converting it to Commodore, perhaps?
Oh, and...
Yogi, a lot of Yogi Bear stuff.
Oh, yes, of course. How can I forget the Yogi Bear? What happened, it was really strange because I set up my company and then then Chris was setting up, and he set up his own company anyway. So I hired his services to help us because there were so many different versions. It was more than a Commodore 64. It was two versions of the Atari because we had an Atari 800. Sorry?
Yeah, there was the Atari, the Commodore.
Tandies.
No, we did.
Didn't we do it? No, we did a Tandy version. Yeah. And of course the PC and the Sinclair. Yeah, my God, the Sinclair.
Oh, don't forget Amstrad.
Oh, God, of course, the horrible Amstrad. Everybody dreaded the Amstrad. Yeah, that Chris says he made more money out of the Amstrad than anything else. And the guy on top, he's Miss Alan Sugar. Yeah, what a character.
Britain's equivalent of Trump.
Yeah, did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear that.
He's Britain's equivalent of Trump.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, Lord. Anyway, that's pretty much it, really.
Nice. So I'm looking at...
I was going to say that just so we've, is it 12 years ago, I have a passion for making Arabic food. So in addition to running TouchFinder, basically, I set up Terra Rossa. So we run the two of them side by side, and sometimes when the phone rings, even though they're two separate phones, you go, TouchFinder, Terra Rossa. Yeah, I'm sure you're in the same spot. I bet you anything you have the same issue.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sometimes you don't know who you are, what day, what time, where am I? So
let's see. I want to talk about Jumbo Jet Pilot. Was that your idea? Was that something you were assigned? What did you know about flying a Jumbo Jet?
Pilot was assigned.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Did you know anything about flying an airplane, or?
No, nothing at all. We just had to really learn fast. I mean, really, really learn fast, and trying to understand. I think, did we ever get a chance to go to see a real life simulator? I don't think we did. No, but we had I think some help from I think it was a college at the time. Yeah. Yeah, but other than that, who was it? The magician, Paul. Do you remember? Paul Daniels. I remember him calling us and saying how excited and how appreciative of he had an Atari. You probably don't know Paul Daniels. He's he was quite a character in the UK.
I don't know the name at all.
No,
Huh.
no, and he really liked Jumbo. Anyway, yes, that was tough. Fractals was probably the toughest thing we ever did.
I bet that was there's a lot going on in that game with AI and graphics that hadn't been done before. Yeah.
That was really difficult, but exciting.
What's this other game you did? I don't know how to pronounce it. The Genie game. How do you pronounce it?
Oh, Jinn Genie.
Jinn Genie.
Yeah. That was actually also. It was. I think it was an ex-Thorn EMI guy who set up his own company, and he wanted to get an Arabian flavor based game, and that's where Jinn Genie came. The idea of that came from. I think that was when I first left Thorn EMI. I can't remember the name of the guy now. No.
You're the one credited as the programmer from what little information is out there.
Yeah, I mean it was just a guy flying on a carpet and shoot 'em up game.
That game seems to be lost to time. The Atari people have made websites where you can download pretty much any game, but that Jinn Genie is rare enough that people haven't found it, I guess.
No, I think I don't even know if I don't have an Atari even game console left anymore, which is a real shame. I might even have the cartridge, but not the actual machine to run it on.
Oh well, if you have the cartridge, and I could borrow it, I can get the software off of it, and we can make it available to the world.
Yeah, well, I'll have to go back to the store to see if I can find it. If
Sure.
I do, I'll definitely let you know.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this old article from you. I'm trying to see if there's any more questions. An article in Popular Computing magazine. And there's an interview with you and a big old picture. And Hanan Samara, proof that games programmers aren't all written by adolescent males.
I don't even remember that.
Was it?
It's really...
Yeah. Did it seem super unusual to be a female programmer in that industry at the time?
Yeah, it was actually quite unique. I was the only female programmer for quite a long time, and I think about probably 3 to 5 years later, something. When I started the Dalali, then I think I was still. So that would have made it about 2.5, 3 years. Yeah, about 3 years later, maybe before women started really.
So what haven't I asked you about that time that I should have?
That time was probably the nicest, fun time. If I look back at my time at Thorn EMI, was the stress-free. Like Chris says, no responsibility. I had a wild team. I had 5 people working for me at Thorn EMI, and they were ultra wild, but then that's part of the job. You have to be wild in order to write crazy computer games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the wildest thing was Kevin, wasn't it? Kevin, do you remember his last name? Anyway.
What did Kevin do?
Kevin was a board game designer, and that's why we thought he would be really, really good at what he does, and to convert some of the board games into computer games. And and I don't actually know what happened to him. He went to the States, and I haven't seen him since. And that was 20 years ago.
Huh.
More than that, actually. Much more than that. Anyway, and he and Andy would play games on everybody. And I remember the wildest thing was staying until early hours of the morning trying to code some stuff, and then we had some nice Japanese customers, and they decided that I shouldn't be telling you this.
Statute of limitations is run out. It's okay.
Oh, so it's like sitting on the windowsill on the third floor throwing eggs on the Japanese customers. Oh my God. And I had to reprimand them the next day and tell them off and this and that. And oh yeah. I remember being told by my boss that under no circumstances am I allowed to have such ludicrous behavior taking place at such a respectable establishment. Mm-hmm. It was the head office. And I think the other thing that they used to do to each other is put some, was it laxative in chocolates? And
because Andy used to steal chocolate.
Yeah, I had one guy who used to go around seeing who's got chocolates in their drawers, and he would actually steal them and inject some nasty stuff in them, and then I have to tell you, it was the wildest, most fun, like Chris says, irresponsible, and yet the most creative, I have to tell you, creative time ever. And it's such a real shame because when you set up your own business, it all changes. All of a sudden, you have to constantly worry about how you're going to pay for all these. I think we grew to almost 13 people when we first started Dalali, and that was a real wake-up call, mm-hmm. And it's trying to figure out how the hell am I going to feed all these people. And that lasted for about 2.5 years before I decided I have to let these people go and we have to just contract them as opposed to employ them on a daily basis. And so it was on a job done basis. You come in, help us out with this. Thank you very much. And please come back when you'll be available when we need you next. Mm-hmm. But I think when you run your own business, like I said before, all your customers become your clients, and you have a huge responsibility worrying about money, which I never really needed to worry about when I was working. Or Thorn EMI.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you enjoy these interviews and would like to contribute, there are 2 ways you can help. You can help fund these interviews directly by contributing to my Patreon. A small monthly contribution will help offset the expenses of making these oral history interviews. Contribute at patreon.com/Savitz. Or make a tax-deductible contribution to the Internet Archive, a nonprofit digital library that has done incredible things to preserve computer history. Make your tax-deductible contribution at archive.org/donate. Thanks.